Hi folks, we should be live now. Just give us 2-3 minutes to understand if everything works fine from a technical point of view. Let me know if you see me without hiccups and if the audio is fine. So let's give us 2 minutes to see if everything is working all right before we talk about the Sony A7V. So write me in the comment system in the live chat if you hear me, if you see me, if everything works fine from a technical point of view. Okay, Raffaello says all fine. Okay, thanks. Give me some more answers that really everything is fine and there are no hiccups. Okay, folks. Super great. Maybe this will be the first live stream ever without big hiccups. That would be nice. Okay, now there's a commercial break. Okay, let's go. Okay, folks, nice. I'm very excited. Because today I will show you 2 images of the Sony A7V. So those are leaked images where I'm 99% certain that they are real. So I have little doubt that what I'm going to show you is the real camera. I still don't have the specs. So to all the guys that want to get the full specs and like zillion of images, leave the live stream now. This is just to show you the first 2 images. I still didn't get the final confirmation on the specs, although the second image I will share will be very controversial. So there will be a lot to discuss about those images anyway. So for me, it's interesting, but if you hope to get the full spec list, please leave the chat now, because I see that in the past some of you were unhappy with the videos or the live stream. I understand this. Some people want more, but people think if you want the news, the full spec list, just wait for the official announcement before it's hard to get all the specs and all the info and images and so forth. And so I just publish what I get and that's it, okay? So that was the warning before haters come out and say, I wanted to see more or hear more, okay? 2 images, and from those images you can already see some possible specs of the camera. So that's all we got today, okay? Okay, final confirmation, please, that audio and video is working fine, and then I will show you the images and then we can have a discussion with questions, okay? So let me know in the comment system if everything is all right. Private note, at 4:10 or 4:15 my son will ring the bell of the apartment. I'm alone, I have to open, so I will disappear for 30 seconds. So that's the only thing you should know, that if you don't see me for a moment, don't worry, I'm not running away from Sony managers hunting me or whatever, okay? Okay, everything is fine, okay. Let's see how many people are online and if we can kick off. 307, okay. The point of today's live stream is to share the first leaked images of the Sony A7V. This is a very important camera because it's the best-selling full-frame camera from Sony in terms of units. The Sony A7IV is also still a very popular camera, and so it's important for Sony to not, I don't have to say bad words on live stream, but you know, to not make any missteps, okay, on the Sony A7V. Last week I told you it is coming, so I don't have the announcement date. It should be between October and November, so that's the ballpark. I don't know if it be most likely mid-November, but I don't have a confirmation. So, but within 2 months, okay. So if you can hold off buying the Sony A7IV because maybe you want to see how the Sony A7V is, then definitely wait. And since 2 days, I'm talking to a new source that had a very early pre-production unit. So that source is so early, he saw the camera way before any influencer or normal photographer that is close to Sony. And he shared the images, and I didn't believe him first because I thought, yeah, it's a new source. As you remember, I made some DJI videos because somebody was sending me images of a teaser of DJI. It was a new source. I always said this could be completely BS. Indeed, it was BS. So that's why I'm very, I wasn't believing him. But then he sent me a ton of images and also videos. So on the videos saw the camera and so forth. So this is not fake, and he explained me everything. Now, It took a lot of discussion with the source day and night to finally get the permission to show you two images. So the two images you're going to see from the Sony A7V are real, because I saw all other images that I cannot post yet because of course the source doesn't want, because you see the surroundings, you see a reflection on LCD, you know. So I hope that after this video today, maybe in the next days, I can show you more images, but I'm still in discussion with the source, okay? Okay, so you're impatient to see it, so I'm going to show you today two images. Let's kick off with the first one. Are you ready? Let me know in the comment section if you're ready, if you're really ready. If you're not ready, we can wait and chat about nonsense stuff for the next 10 minutes. Let's see. Okay, no, joking. Let's move on. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time you see the Sony A7V. This is the first image. Nobody, no other rumor website did show it to you. So there are rumor websites, competition, that are always taking rumors from me or making up rumors. The difference is I show you the real stuff sometimes, okay? Most of the times actually. So this is now the Sony A7V. Okay, this is the first image of the Sony A7V. Now, you see that I cropped out some pieces of the images. You see the white part, that's to not see the hands or a bit of the surrounding of where the image was taken, so to protect the source. So sorry for that, but just to be clear. And of course, the first thing you see is of course the name A75, obviously, so that's not a big deal, but you see the camera. And now let's walk you through all the differences between the A7 IV and the A7 V. So right you see the A7 IV, left the A7 V. Now at first glance you might think there are not many differences, but there are, and I'm going to show them to you, okay? First of all, let's move on. So it has the fully articulating screen of the Sony A12, Sony A9 III. So this is the new screen, 3.2 inch, 2.1 million dot. So the Sony A7V, as expected, has this new screen. So first info confirmed, the four-way articulating screen comes with the A7V. Let's move on to see the other differences with the A7 IV. The icon here is gone, you know, the send playback icon that you had on the A7 IV is gone. This is the old Sony, I call it now old Sony A7 IV, the FN button icon. The new, on the left you see the Sony A12 that indeed got rid of the icon, and indeed on the A7 IV you don't have the icon, so that's a small thing, but just to show you all the differences. Also the control wheel is the new control wheel of the Sony A12, which is more pronounced and more easy to use. So the Sony A5 has it, okay? There is also the C1 button is moved a tiny bit upwards because the screen has gone bigger. So now you have that C1 button with a bump on top. So this is a minor aesthetic difference, but just to show what is different on the A7V compared to the A7 IV. And on the A7 IV, the C1 button that you see here is also on the A7V, obviously. And wait a second, I got a tiny bit lost. On the Sony A12, this button is the rec button. On the Sony A7V, it remains the C1 button, okay? Then moving on, the real estate on the top right plate of the A7V is basically the same of the A7 IV. So the C2 button and the rec button are there just like on the A7 IV. Nothing has really changed. And indeed, and that's the first surprise, I didn't expect this, the A7V does not have the same Sony A12 or A9 III grip design. So it's not the same. I was expecting to get the same because there was a high appraisal for the new grip design on the A12 and the A9 III. The Sony A7V does not have the same grip design, okay? Now, wait a moment. So this was the first image that I wanted to show you. I didn't read your comments. You're now commenting a lot. Sorry, I don't have time to read them. But the first image shows in basically that we are getting some changes. We got an A12 and the A9 III, so the fully articulating screen, the new four-way fully articulating screen, the nice wheel, the more pronounced wheel, and so forth. But we don't get the top right plate and the grip of the A12 and the A9 III, which is kind of odd. So it's a kind of mix between the high-end cameras and the A7 IV. Okay, so that's the first thing we learned from this image. So now, give me just 2 seconds to read the comments if there is something you noticed. Yeah, I agree with that. With Gaming Fooling that said better they did not change the new body. It's so much better than. Okay, yeah. I also find it a bit upsetting that we don't have the complete new grip of the A12 and A9 III. Now. The screen, the source, very important info before we move to the second image that will be very controversial. So I tease you that it will be very controversial. The source, I have to pay attention to just tell only the stuff that he allowed me to tell you. Had only a short amount of time to play with the camera, so to feel it and to play with it and to feedback the feeling, and he did not get the specs of the camera. So when you ask me, for example, like now, what kind of resolution the screen has, the source doesn't know. The source only told me about the feeling of the camera, it felt good to him and so forth. But I just guess the resolution is the same of the A12 and A9 III. That's my guess, okay? Okay, now let's move on to the second image. And this is going to be controversial and you will discuss this a lot. But before that, an explanation that is very important, okay? The first image I showed you, that I'm going to show you again, wait a second, shows the changes on the layout and buttons of the Sony A7V, okay? And this is an early prototype and the hardware here is really finished. So this image is how the camera will be, okay? But now it's important that you follow me now. The second image shows the back of the camera with the menu on and the resolution of the sensor. And in this case, the source said, watch out, this was a super early prototype with a super early version of software. The software is buggy, laggy, is copied from the A7 IV. So the information might not be exact, but there's an 80% chance that this is the resolution of the camera, but there's still a 20% chance that the menu didn't implement the new information of the new sensor or new camera and so forth. So I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is what he told me. So keep this in mind when discussing now the next image, that this is a real image, but we can't be certain about the software yet of what if it's showing us the right numbers, okay? You ready? Okay, now let's move on. Wait a second. So, this is the Sony A7V and it shows that the JPEG image size is 33 megapixel. And now, like I told you, this was early software, but he showed me multiple images with multiple menus and it's always 33 megapixel. So the resolution of the Sony A7V sensor should be 33 megapixel. So whatever you heard about other websites saying, we know for sure it has 44 megapixel, whatever, sounds like they were wrong. It's going to have a 33 megapixel sensor, okay? And now, before you write your hate message, I gave you, again, 2 informations. First, source said, can still be different, because he also tested other Sony prototypes in the past years, and sometimes there were wrong info in the menu. So he said like he cannot be sure as of yet. He's promised me to come back with the final information. Okay, so stay tuned and I will give you the final information. I suspect personally that this is real, that we're getting 33 megapixel Sony A7V, but I also have been told, and other sources have been told, that this is a new sensor. So the options, in my opinion now too, that we are, one, getting, in worst case scenario, the old Sony A7 IV sensor with some tweaks like better dynamic range, faster readout, and some extra features when it comes to video recording that we didn't have on the A7 IV. Basically a tweaked A7 IV sensor, and this is the worst case scenario. Or the second scenario is that this is a 33 megapixel partially stuck sensor. That's still possible, folks, because the source didn't tell me anything about this. So I'm a bit afraid, because when I see 33 megapixel, I'm afraid that Sony will go the very conservative route, because we saw it on the past, that sometimes after 4 years we got a new camera, speak A12 or A7V, and it had the same sensor. So there is a fair chance we're getting the same sensor but tweaked, because what I heard is that Sony said it's new, but marketing guys at Sony say new, even if the sensor is the same, but then it gets tweaked and then they say it's new. So I'm worried about Sony marketing a lot. But the second option is that this is a partially stuck sensor, a 33 partially stuck sensor, okay? So again, I show you the image so that you can see it here. Let me know if you notice something different. I don't notice something that is unusual on this image, but this Sony A7V, the one that I showed you on the first image, has this menu, shows 33 megapixel, okay, folks? Okay, those are the two images I can show today. I saw much more of the camera, a lot more, and I'm now trying to work with the source so that I can share you more images in my next video, maybe even tomorrow, because he's quite open, we're discussing, and we're trying to make it possible so that you see more images also of the front of the camera, of the connection ports. And there are some pieces of information also there that are very interesting, but until he cannot allow me to share them, I cannot talk or share them to you. Sorry for that. But he allowed me to share those two images. The wrap up here is that the Sony A7V is coming. I have a first leaked image I showed to you. It's coming in October, November, probably mid-November, but I'm still not sure. So hopefully I will get some info about that soon. It has a mix between the A7 IV and A12 A93 body. A mix because the grip and the top plate is still the one of the A7 IV, but the back, the four-way fully articulating screen, the control wheel and so forth is clearly from the A12 and the A93. Now, when it comes to the sensor, the menu of the A7V did show 33 megapixels as a resolution. So in worst case, I told you, we're getting a tweaked, slightly improved sensor version of the A7 IV, or better case, 33 partially stuck sensor. But that's it, folks. So now we will take your questions and answer them. So if you only were here to see the two images and get the information about the A7V and you want not have the discussion, then please leave the chat. It's done. So watch also sonyalpha where I have published the news. You can see the news there with the full text and so forth. It will go online in 10 minutes. Sorry, on sonyalpha I scheduled it. You can see it there and read everything. And all I can promise you is that I will do as much as I work as hard as I can to show you more images and to get some final specs on the sensor, which is very key for this camera success. Now, what I will talk now are some speculation. I will read your comments. There are some rumors saying that this camera will be close to $3,000. If it has the same A7 IV sensor, even if it's tweaked with some like a half a stop more dynamic range, some better video recording modes, I think it's disappointing, just my opinion, also because the competition ain't sleeping. They have 4K without crop. If you look at the Nikon ZR, for example, which is not a direct competitor, but it's a super affordable cinema camera for $2,000. You look at the Lumix S1 II for around $3,000. It does stunning video, of course, lower resolution. There's the upcoming Canon R6 Mark III that is coming very soon, likely with the 34 megapixel sensor of the C50, which has stunning image quality, stunning video capability. If the Sony A7V has that same tweaked A7 IV sensor, I don't think that's good. That's enough. That's my opinion. The AI chip, yeah, it will have the AI chip, the fully articulating screen, all good stuff. Very important. The AI chip is the best when it comes to autofocus performance. Sony is the best, but I don't know if that alone is enough to make it a hot seller. Also, because you have to understand this camera is coming now in a year where Canon, Nikon, Panasonic did announce cameras without 4K, that can do 4K without crop. And this camera has to be on the market for the next 4 years. So it looks a bit outdated. If it would have the same, for example, video performance of the A7 IV, I would be super disappointed. But this is really, we're talking about speculation here, not about facts, okay? Based on the second leaked image where you see 33 megapixel, simply one gets scared, and I get afraid that it uses the same sensor, but it might be a completely new sensor. Okay, so if it has a new sensor and is priced close to $3,000 and a full articulating screen, AI chip, then I think that's fair. It's obviously a costly camera, but it will sell hot. Okay. Now read your comment. Again, I repeat, if you were here for leaked images and specs, it's done now. Now I will just discuss with you and take your questions. So you can leave the chat and the live stream if you don't have time for that. Okay. So, folks, you wrote a ton of comments. So I will just start from the last one, and if you want me to read your question, repeat it again, okay, so that I can see it, because otherwise it's too much to scroll up again. So the source, they didn't share me anything about specs. I got another source that shared me some details, but I still want to get a double confirmation on that. He didn't tell me anything about this. Yeah, banana. Yeah, on sonyalpha.com. Yeah, I usually since 1 year I do I use DeepL to correct my post, which means most of my posts I write them in German. My native language is German and Italian, and then I translate them in DeepL, and I do it with most articles, not with all articles. So it has improved, but there's still mistakes made when I'm in a rush or whatever, and I can't, and I'm too fast. Then I do those mistakes. I'm trying to improve. FX32 info. The only info I got is from actually a highly trusted source, and he said development is done. So the camera is actually ready, but I don't know if it's coming November, January, February, or April next year. I hope that he will come back to me to tell me when it's coming. I think Sony should do it. I think we have to thank Canon and Nikon for doing great cine cameras, because this will put some pressure to Sony to improve and to not become the new Canon like it was years ago. Canon was very conservative. Now it feels like Sony is becoming conservative and the others are trying to be innovative. It's normal. It's part of the game, but hopefully the FX32 is coming. I think my feeling is that it's coming after the Sony A7V. Yeah, on sonyalpha.com, a very important note, if you read my blog sonyalpha.com, I'm actually now also starting to use ChatGPT, which means I write my text in German or Italian, and then I ask ChatGPT to write the text in English. Some people in the comment system hated me for this, saying this is an AI written article. I think understood in the worst sense, like I wouldn't have, like AI wrote it completely without my inputs. No, I write them, and then I ask ChatGPT to translate it in English so that it sounds better. Because if I use DeepL, it does it. It's a good translation, but maybe some nuances get lost, while ChatGPT gets more of the nuances I expressed in my German or Italian language, and so I'm using actually ChatGPT. But Those are not ChatGPT written articles, those are just translations, okay? That's an important difference. Yeah, that's also the question I have. I asked the source if it has 4K 60p no crop, because if it has cropped, it just, I would be so disappointed, because of course it would be still a good camera, but in a world where basically Canon, Nikon, Panasonic are no more introducing cameras with crop, introducing now a camera with crop that costs $3,000, close to $3,000, and that has to be in the market till 2029 because this will have 4-year life. I don't know. I don't know. Wait, I got a bit lost. Sorry for, I'm scrolling up again because I don't know where I stand with my with the comments, because there are so many comments, folks, that I'm truly fully lost. Sorry, man. Wait a second, I'm scrolling down. Are you hyped or not for the A75 for what you saw? No, I'm not hyped. I'm not hyped. The only way the A75 would make me hyped is if that 33 megapixel that we saw here on this leaked image is for a new partially stacked sensor. That's the only way that this camera would make me hyped. If it doesn't have the partially stacked sensor, then no, I will not be hyped. I'm scrolling down, sorry if it takes a moment. It would be nice if the Sony A75 indeed would have a 33 megapixel partially stacked sensor, just like the Nikon Z6 III has a partially stacked sensor at 24 megapixel. If it has 33, perfect. We would be all happy with the Sony A75. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Nobody told me about a new processor, but it will have the AI chip for sure. So also a new processor to work with that, but no specifics. Because I shared a rumor about a new 100, what was it, 500 millimeter lens from Panasonic. I should get some more specs this week and hopefully also images to share. So for Lumix folks out there, I will have some info for you soon. There is no info about the A7S4. Sorry folks, I got info about the FX32. Development has been done. I think the A7R6 is coming end of next year, but that's just my speculation. No info at all about the A7S4. No, they haven't told me anything about improvement on the image stabilization. I think there are some, just my guess. So I see no problem Sony adding an improved image stabilization on this, just like they did on the A12 and so forth. EVF resolution. One source actually told me that, because actually I have two sources that saw the Sony A75 without Sony telling them the specs. So it was, those are sources seeing the camera before even influencers and all those photographers that you know of see the camera. They get the camera just to get a feeling, and they both didn't get the spec list about this camera. They were just asked to take some shots and give you a feedback on the feeling, and that's it. And one of the sources told me it looked like the EVF resolution improved on the A75 over the A74. For him it felt better, but he cannot tell, couldn't tell me what kind of resolution it had. Yeah, like I told you before, I saw also images of the front of the camera that hopefully I can share this week. And to me, while it certainly didn't have that top right plate of the A12, A9 III, and also not the grip of the A12, A9 III, the grip still did look different than the A7 IV. So I forgot to tell you this, the grip is different than the A7 IV. I see it on the image. It looks like a new kind of grip that we haven't seen before, not on the A12 and the A9 III. So maybe it's even better than on the A12. I'm sorry for the pauses, but I'm reading your comments. Yeah, I understand if the disappointment of Julian, if indeed the A75 has exactly the same sensor, Sony will sell it as an improved version with some tweaks, but if it's the same basic tech, then of course it's a disappointment. I understand that you would get the A7V, which I do own. I'm super happy with the camera. And the Nikon ZR for video is super, although it also has his quirks. So I was super hyped about the Nikon ZR, but I also noticed that it has some drawbacks, like the 12-bit at retro, also the huge amount of data when you record with that retro code. So, and other stuff, so it's still not a perfect camera, but for the price it's great. Sorry, I got again lost in the comment system. So many questions, sorry. It's true, I wasn't expecting a stacked sensor on the A75. Nope. At this price point, entry mid-level full-frame camera, you don't get the stacked sensor, but the partially stacked sensor, it makes a ton of sense because the Z6 III has it, and it's an affordable camera. The A75 is more expensive than the Z6 III, so let's hope this 33 megapixel sensor is partially stacked. Then we can all agree that this is going to be a great camera, even if it's going to be still expensive and whatever, and you can always want something more, but let's hope for that. Do you see a possibility of Sony incorporating OpenGate? They could. It's just a software thing, so they could even introduce it on all the cameras. I think they stated multiple times, also in official interviews, they don't feel like OpenGate is something very necessary. But now I think they will feel the pressure, because now everybody gives you OpenGate, I mean, from the competition for free. So why just bother the customers by not giving them something that other cameras have? So I think it's coming, even if they didn't plan it to introduce it. I think it's coming because there's too much pressure from influencers and everything. So any news on the FX32? No, I repeat, I got info about the FX32. Yes, FX32, no. Definitely no. Do you think the Sony A12 will be updated better than... I don't understand. We have the Sony A12. Maybe you meant Sony A13, but that's far out. Sony A13, but it's far out. Can you show the image again? Of course. I will show you the images again. So, again, this is a Sony A75, the first image where you see the new 4-way fully articulating screen, the new wheel on the back. You see that on the top right plate you have the exact same real estate of the A7 IV, nothing changed there, and also likely not the same grip design of the A12, and that's about it. What you also see on the other leaked image is that it appears to have the same or a new 33 megapixel sensor. But again, I repeat, the source told me that this was an early pre-production camera. He didn't see the specs, and maybe there was some bug in the software with some old data from the A7 IV or whatever, so he couldn't guarantee that indeed it has 33 megapixel. Okay, did I already answer? I don't know anything about software updates of the Sony A12 or A9 III, sorry. I'm reading your comments, and then if there's no more questions, then I will stop the live stream. When's the exact release date? I don't have info. Again, October, November, usually mid of November Sony does announce the camera of the year, the most important camera of the year. So maybe it's coming mid of November, but that's just me speculating now. I got some information in, about one thing I can tell you only in my next video, because on the image I saw on the front, you clearly saw if it had pre-capture or not. I'm still awaiting permission from a source to share this info. So wait, hopefully tomorrow I can tell you this. Regarding 10 frames per second, I only know one interesting story from a highly trusted source, that originally Sony still planned to keep the 10 frames per second. And that there was an outcry in the tester community from Sony to say like, no, we have to increase the FPS. Okay, but that's a real story, and don't make it up. I'm 100% sure that the very early prototypes only shot 10 frames per second, but I don't have now an update about the final version. If they make it 15 or 20, which is likely, could be possible, but Sony really wanted to be as conservative as it gets on the A7V by giving you 10 frames per second. The source did not tell me about the FX32 specs, only that development has been done. I don't have any info, I just hope it has global shutter, that's my hope. I don't have news about aps-c cameras. There will be no aps-c cameras or lenses till Christmas this year. No, of course, nothing. I didn't see. Sony prices went up again. I published a rumor on sonyalpha that prices might go up today. Once new source told me about this, so I wasn't sure if he was telling me the truth. So I will check it now if the FX3 price did indeed go up. Now BH Photo is on holiday, so maybe they didn't update the info about the pricing. Now it's up $4,300. Me. So while while Nikon launches a $2,000 cine camera, the Canon C50 is also 2007, 2008 and has better feature than on average than the FX3. Sony did increase the price of the FX3 today. What are you doing, Sony? You should lower the price. You should make it like $3,000 and then it, but $4,300, okay. We need the FX3 II now with global shutter, with something that others don't have. And then you can price it at $4,000. Still crazy, I know, but at least you get something the others don't have. But yeah. No, I repeat, I saw an image of the front of the camera of the A75 that I cannot show you today, and I hope that the source will allow me to publish it tomorrow, where you see the grip. And the grip looks like different than the A7 IV and different from the A12. So it's a new kind of grip design for the A7V. Wait, sorry, there are so many questions. Sorry folks, if I sometimes jump over some of your questions, there are too many. What do you think of Sony's pricing value of E-mount compared to other manufacturers? The FX3 is now $4,300. I think maybe I will do one time after the Sony A75 launch a video where I express my fear that Sony will become a sort of Canon, like Canon was 10 years ago. You remember when Canon was dominating the digital market, and they were limiting their cameras as much as they could, while others were trying to throw in features that Canon cameras didn't have, but they were simply leveraging on their popularity and on their heritage and didn't want to really innovate. Sony came, was a disruptor, and now it feels like Sony has somehow become the new Canon. They are still not the new Canon, because cameras like the A9 III with global shutter, they are unique. Sony still has some incredible features. I particularly like their lens strategy, because a lens like the 51-52.0 is a stunning lens, and they really thought out of the box to make a lens that actually is also useful. So it's not only a fancy lens that is expensive fast for nothing, also covers a range that actually is quite useful if you are a portrait shooter, wedding shooter, and so forth. So when it comes to lenses, I think Sony is still top of the notch, but when it comes to cameras, I think they're canonizing. I don't know how you can see it, if this is a word. They're a tiny bit canonizing, because if, for example, the A7V would indeed have the old A7 IV sensor with some tweaks, then it's a Canon way of thinking about product strategy. Just like it would be even worse than the FX2 or RX1 R3, because the FX2 at least it's a new camera, they wanted to test the market, and then you don't want to risk too much because it's a niche camera. You don't want to see if there's a demand for a FX camera with EVF. Okay. Also the RX1 R3, it's also a niche camera, so I also understand it's difficult to invest a lot of money in something that will not sell in higher numbers, but the A75 is the main full frame camera. They cannot really think conservative. So I'm worried, but I'm not worried. It's normal. It's the industry. It's normal. You go ahead and then you think you can do whatever you want, and then after 5 years you realize you lag behind others and the sales are not going anymore. So yeah, I'm a bit worried. I don't have information about the FX32. Development has been done, so my guess within the next 6 months. It's true, there's basically no reason to upgrade from the A7 III. I think the Sony A7 III, for the value, is still a stunning camera that I would recommend to people that want a high image quality for low price. You get the Sony A7 III, what is it, 2004, 2005? And it gives you a stunning image quality, everything you need. Actually, it's a great camera. No news on aps-c cameras. Okay, let's move on. Any news on it? Oh, I forgot. I didn't get any update about the info that on September 30 we might get a 100mm macro lens. So this, I'm still not sure. This is not yet a confirmed rumor. Okay, folks, it's important that I'm sure there is a 100mm 2.8 GM macro coming from Sony, but I don't know if it's coming on September 30. I didn't get the confirmation. A7R6, could it have 100 megapixel? I think they will use a new sensor simply because it's already 7-8 years we have this 61 megapixel sensor, which is actually super good. You really wouldn't need more megapixel, although I am one of the few that does cropping. So and when you crop, it's nice to have that resolution. I know Sony has a full frame 100 megapixel sensor. They made it. There was an official paper also about this. It's no problem to offer a 100 megapixel sensor. The problem is you start to get quite some issues like diffraction at pretty medium aperture already. So that's a problem of increasing resolution. So I don't know if they will. I don't think they will go 100 megapixel, but maybe they will offer a a new version of the 60 something megapixel sensor, but I'm really not sure about that. Yeah, true, sorry, forgot to say, it looks like it has a similar A7V body, true. I'm reading your last questions, so many. So I will skip some parts because there are too many questions. I have no info about the frame rate, hopefully soon. Viewfinder already talked. It sounds like it's improved, that's what the source told me, but he had no specs at hand. Viltrox Nexus, yeah, nice. I saw it, it's a nice thing. Actually, I should make a video about Chinese manufacturers, because I think in 5 years from now, market, we will talk a lot about Chinese, more or less full frame cameras. Mark my words. You know, we are talking a lot about Sony against Canon and Nikon. I think the real battle will be Sony, Canon, Nikon, Panasonic and the others against the Chinese manufacturers. This in 5 years from now. Yeah, dual slot. I saw it on the images. Dual slot is confirmed. Sorry if I take those long pauses, but there's so many questions. I don't have new info about new GM lenses with OSS. I heard something about one fast prime lens and one tele prime lens GM, but I think that those lenses are coming in 2026, so sorry for that, and I hope in the next videos, of course, to share some details about this. That's the big question. If it's cropped, I'm going to be so mad at Sony, so mad. This is 2015, 2018, you could do 4K crop, not now when everybody does cameras with no crop. Yeah, of course, if now during the live stream I realized they increased the prices in the US. That's incredible. I told you already my best case scenario, that it has the 33 partially stacked sensor, 33 megapixel. If not, I will be honest, then it's a very still capable camera, of course, but too costly for what it is compared to probably an R6 Mark III that will have a 34 megapixel sensor from the C50 and does video in a stunning quality. Then I will go like, then you should buy this one. But why spend more money? If you're entering the market from scratch, I would suggest you to buy the Canon R6 Mark III if it has a 34 megapixel sensor. If you are already in an E-mount system or you're more focused on lenses, I think Sony still has obviously the edge when it comes to lenses. The last questions, true, it is slow. It is slow compared to the A7 IV, but you have to think normal people that don't have money and they want to get the image quality, the A7 III is good enough, and they don't need most of the time that speed bump that is useful, nice. I was talking about normal, like if my son when he's 17, 18 wants a full frame camera, the A7 III would make sense. So many questions again. Yeah, two cards, yeah. Two CF Express Type A cards. Takes no OpenGate. The A75 doesn't have OpenGate, I'm sure it doesn't have it. Last question. It has the same 3.2-inch LCD display of the Sony A7V. Last questions, and then I'm stopping it, okay, with the live stream. Julian, I hope tomorrow I can give you the answer, because I asked this specific question to the source if I'm allowed to share this information, because I saw it on the image, so I will let you know. When we see more about the A7V specs, I think it's likely that tomorrow, after tomorrow, I can share some more images, which already show you some of the possibilities of the A7V. About the final specs, like the sensor, so I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm really asking around all the time, but Sony is very secretive, extremely secretive about the cameras. So it's already a half a miracle that you have seen the images. Again, I'm going to show you images of the A75 today. It was quite a work just to get to those images. Okay, that's it, folks. Now I want to thank you for having visited this live stream. I hope this was the first time that we had at least no technical issue, so that the audio's fine, video is fine. The point of this video was to exclusive for you on this YouTube channel. First of all, first worldwide, to show you the first leaked images of the A75, and you saw it. And I think even if they don't show much, at least you can see from the back how it looks. It's very A7V alike, like some of the readers here noticed. So that's very clear. And also we learned that it looks like it has same or a new 33 megapixel sensor. So no 44 megapixel sensor, whatever, but this should be the resolution of the sensor that hopefully is new, okay? That's all I can share today. I told you I saw more images, and that with a bit of luck, tomorrow, after tomorrow, I can show you more images. And that's it, folks, for today. I thank you all for the very polite participation in the comment system. You were very nice, so thank you for that. And again, if you have also comments, or you notice something on the images that I didn't talk about today, let me know. I will read them, and also then write a post about it, and also credit you for having found those news. But I think we can see you ourselves very soon on this channel. So again, subscribe. Also like this video, because it helps in the YouTube algorithm. That is very annoying. It always pushes. Why is Northrop always on top and all those other guys? No, of course, joking, but I'm always very down. Liking it, it apparently makes some difference. So like this video, and I think I see you tomorrow, after tomorrow, with new leaks. And also send me some info if you find it. You know what my email address is. You can find it on sonyalpharumors@gmail.com is my email address. sonyalpharumors.com, you find all the contact info also there. And keep in mind, we are also getting the R6 Mark III, so hopefully I can also show you images of this camera and some info. That will be a nice battle, R6 Mark III against the Sony A75. It will be the last battle of the year, and then we can relax during Christmas time. I can relax because I'm pretty burned out by this rumor work, and then move on for next year, hopefully another exciting year when it comes to cameras and lenses, okay? Folks, ciao!